Hello, and welcome to the next edition of RG in Discussion. My name is Tony Gillum, and I am a Senior Manager within the Audit Department at Rycroft Glenton. Today's topic is health tech, and I'm joined by Dr. Paul Smith, who is Chief Strategy Officer and founder of Art Health Solutions. Hello, Paul. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Nice to meet you.
So the UK is the third largest investor in the world in terms of health tech, and there was £2.3 billion worth of VC investment in 2020. Health tech is a pretty exciting place to be right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a growing sector for a number of years, but obviously the current pandemic and the things that have happened over the last 18 months to 2 years has really accelerated a lot of that growth. So, you're seeing a lot of new entrants to the market. You're seeing a lot of very big companies and very big organizations trying to, I suppose, muscle in on health tech and looking at ways that they can ultimately help people and have a big impact on people's lives.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Could you tell us a little bit about what Art Health Solutions does?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been going just under 4 years now. Essentially, what we do is measure the well-being and performance of employees and assess how different workplace variables impact that well-being and performance. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is deliver insights to employers so they can make evidence-based decisions around future strategies. That could be to do with ways of working, well-being programs, the built environment, etc. But then also trying to impact employee behaviour in a positive way. So helping them understand small things that they can undertake through their own data, and us delivering the insights to actually improve their quality of life.
Oh, perfect, perfect. And has COVID been a real game changer for you?
Yeah, I think we were, I suppose, ahead of the curve in some senses, in that we'd already moved to a relatively remote model, being able to scale across the world, looking to collect robust objective data from various different methods. But I think what COVID has done is it's brought health and well-being from, I won't say a nice to have, but something that people were aware of, but perhaps didn't focus on as a priority, to now it becoming, front and center. Most of the companies that we work with and clients we're speaking with are saying, CEOs, CFOs, COOs are talking about health and well-being as the number one or number two priority for the next year or 18 months. So it's certainly brought health and well-being centrally focused and into people's minds more than it was.
And do you think that it's a wider reach of companies now who are starting to engage with you? So you said before it was maybe a bit of a luxury for the bigger firms, the bigger companies. Is it more SMEs that are starting to get in touch as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely been an understanding from any size business that looking after your staff and having this people-centric approach is absolutely key. It isn't good enough to only provide well-being when you get to a certain size. I mean, even us as a business, we're a relatively small business. We provide the same well-being solutions that we offer our clients, and think it's absolutely key that we practice what we preach. So absolutely, there's been an influx of interest from all different verticals, different size businesses, as people realise they have to support employees as they go through, what are challenging times for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And what's the tech angle to what you do? Where does that come in?
Yeah, so we collect data using 3/4 types of technology. So we work very closely with smartwatches. So we use Apple Health, Fitbit and Garmin smartwatches to collect physical well-being data and data around recovery and sleep. We have our own cognitive performance smartphone application. So that essentially has taken scientifically validated cognitive performance tasks, and we've created these cognitive performance tasks on the smartphone that individuals can take on a week by week basis. So essentially they're assigned 3 or 4 tasks that measure 3 cognitive constraints of short-term memory, distractibility and decision making. And there's also some subjective employee sentiment questions that they complete around stress and where they're working, how happy they feel, what their environment's like while they complete those tests. So we start to get a really good picture through that piece of technology as to how their mind's performing and how kind of ready they are to perform their roles and how they're actually feeling. And then also we collect built environment data. So any client that has sensors that collect air quality, noise, lighting, thermal comfort type data and occupancy data, we can also overlay that data with our wellbeing and performance data. So we start to get an idea of how different personas or how different subgroups of employees are performing and how well they feel based on the environment in which they're working, whether that's office, whether that's flex working, whether that's working from home.
Okay. And then COVID has obviously brought a massive change to work pattern behaviours, environments. A lot of people are now moving to some sort of hybrid working, doing part of the week in the office, part of the week at home. What are you seeing in terms of findings, in terms of well-being?
I think the best answer to that is it's very individual. So we've collected data now from groups of individuals that were permanently based in the office, permanently based at home, and also now working hybridly over the last sort of 5 to 6 months. And the same kind of trends are coming out. If you take an average, hybrid working has some benefits in terms of it can improve things like sleep, because people are not always having that commute time. People are feeling happier working at home, and they like that flexibility. But also what we're finding is very often that people are not as active on the days when they're working at home compared to when they're in the office. So they almost struggle to provide or find a routine to follow, that when they're in the office, they're almost on autopilot. It's, we get up, we commute, we walk into the office, we go to the kitchen, we go to the cafeteria, we're back to our desk, and there's a nice routine that naturally builds in physical activity. I think when you're at home and there's other distractions, or you get caught in a piece of focus work, you can very often forget to get up and move around. So that's what we try to feed back to our clients, is that firstly, you need to be measuring your employees and understanding what's going on, but also don't just take the average findings and assume, okay, well, steps have gone in one direction, or physical activity's gone in the right direction and performance has gone in the right direction. That's a big tick for hybrid working. It isn't right for everybody. Some people struggle with the hybrid model. Some people struggle with working from home and need to be in the office more often than not. So try to persona profile, try to understand the different types of working that people do, and then look at the data to say, is that the right strategy for them, and what can we do to better support that?
Okay, brilliant. Are there any pitfalls or anything to worry about in terms of the advancement of health tech?
I think that the main concern is something that is always brought up with us when we speak to clients, is to make sure that employees feel comfortable and don't feel that it's this big brother approach is watching you. And making sure that everyone is aware of how the data is being treated, and making sure that things are fully anonymized and data's securely stored, and that it's actually designed with the employee's interests at heart. So it isn't about I think one of the things that's coming out of COVID is the focus primarily is on like health and safety. So as people come into the office, what can we do around sanitization, social distancing, etc.? That's all very important, but that isn't really well-being. That's just health and safety. That's making sure people are at lower risk of catching COVID, which is absolutely the right thing to do. But that shouldn't replace a good, solid well-being program that is driven by data. So I think, as long as the privacy side of things is covered, and people are comfortable with the data that they're sharing, they're not being asked to do anything they shouldn't want to do, or it shouldn't be made to do, then and the technology is used in the right way, then I think it's got a lot of positives more than the potential negatives.
Okay, interesting. And what does the future hold? What does the future hold for health tech?
Well, that's a big question.
Where's the sky? Where's the limit?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously huge advancements going on regularly. I mean, smart watches are obviously improving all the time. There's a lot more medical grade type devices coming out that track a lot of physiological parameters that weren't being tracked previously, and could only be tracked through lab-based experiments. I think there's a lot more sort of AI and machine learning being applied, excuse me, which is allowing people to predict behavior. and starting to help inform, what they should be doing in the future based on previous data. And I think, again, if that's used correctly and used for the good, then that could be really positive. There's lots of very forward-thinking sort of sensors and office technology that's being brought in that, again, can start to track where people are moving around, where they are at any one time in the building, starting to link and overlay other data into that. So there's, and then obviously I suppose there's the advancement of beyond wearables, if you like, so smart clothing and into glasses and all sorts of very futuristic looking devices. I'm wearing a ring at the moment, which is a wearable that collects very similar data to smartwatches. So I think what you find is just the devices will become more and more advanced. They'll become easier to wear. They'll be less intrusive, and they'll also be able to predict and inform behaviour more than they've ever been able to do previously.
All right, yeah, brilliant. And if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody who was just starting up within health tech at the moment, what advice would you give?
That's a good one. I would say again, design your technology with the employee in mind and not with the employer. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards the employer, but I think fundamentally, if you want to be able to collect good, solid, robust data, you need the employees to want to use your product. And without that, you really are starting from nothing. So think about, if you're an employee, what are the benefits they're going to get from using your technology, and how can you make that user experience as immersive, as interesting, and as valuable as possible to the end user. And then naturally from that, you get people engaging, and that then becomes valuable to the employer. And then you can start to integrate other forms of data and other platforms to support the employer as well as the employee.
Paul, thank you very much. That was really interesting. Thank you very much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
And thank you very much for watching.